Hi, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to today's Search Engine Journal webinar. I'm Janice Uehara, CEO of Search Engine Journal. I'm so excited to be here. We're going to be talking about driving sales with founder-led marketing. First, some housekeeping. If you need closed captions, it's the CC button, top right of your screen. We are going to have some time for Q&A at the end of Craig's presentation. So look for the Q&A tab also on the right to submit your question throughout this webinar, our time together. Number 3, you're going to be hit with requests to take a post-webinar survey, and we'd love for you to spend a moment to tell us how it was for you. That's how we make our next webinar bigger and better. And lastly, if you missed a quote or you missed a best practice or a tip, you will receive a recording in your inbox along with the slides. And I love to see the chat here. If you want to share where you're from, where you are today. I'm in the San Francisco Bay Area, working from home. And would love to find out where everybody's dialed in from today. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about a simple but powerful concept. People trust people. People trust people more than companies. People trust people more than brands. And when your founders and when your leaders show up on LinkedIn with clear stories and useful ideas and measurable results, the numbers move. Leads increase, deal size increases, and your sales and marketing teams get access to folks that would be normally difficult for them to reach. And we're going to be finding out this is not magic. This is a proven method that this group here will be breaking down for us. Starting with Craig Rosenberg, Chief Platform Officer at Scale Venture Partners. He's going to be showing us how this strategy actually performs in the real world. Alec Paul is the founder of Sales Brand, and he works with founders and executives on how to communicate in a way that stands out and feels authentic. Casey Jenkins is a marketing leader and former SVP of marketing at Sendoso, and her experience will show us how executive voices can lift deal sizes and influence buying cycles. Purna Virji is a principal consultant at LinkedIn, also a friend of mine. I know she does many things, but today she's going to be helping companies build storytelling systems that scale. Lastly, we have Ruby Jane. She's a senior sales manager at LinkedIn, and she's benefited directly when buying behavior changes as a result of leaders showing up with storytelling tactics that work. Okay, so now that you know what we're going to be digging into today, I'm turning over the mic to Ruby to set the stage for us. Ruby, tell us about the journey that we're going to be embarking on today.
Yes, thank you, and hi, everyone. My name is Ruby, as was mentioned, and I lead our broader LinkedIn Marketing for Startups program. We founded about 5 years ago with the goal of helping startups see deeper ROI from LinkedIn. We know startups have aggressive growth goals, unique needs, limited bandwidth. They need more from our platform to get what you need to be successful against your aggressive growth targets. So with that, one of my favorite parts of my role is getting to talk to as many startup revenue leaders, founders as possible, and also keeping tabs on what's being talked about on LinkedIn, meeting with our many VC partners, and Scale Ventures is one of those. And my role is really to identify what more can we be bringing as it relates to resources, insights, to our customers. And one of the main themes that came up over the last year was founders, and I should say startups, whose executive teams are active on LinkedIn organically, are seeing stronger ROI than those that are not. And I just want to pause because, again, like 3 years ago, if someone had told any of our customers that, I feel like they would have laughed in our faces. But we really now have data to prove that when you are active, when you and your executive teams are active on LinkedIn, you will see higher overall ROI with your paid efforts. And so over the last year, Perna and I partnered together to interview some of the best in the space that are doing this particularly well. We also partnered with Scale Venture Partners and Craig, as they really specialize in helping startups move from founder-led sales and marketing to more of a holistic sales and marketing go-to-market strategy, and brought to you this playbook that we're going to be talking about today. So excited to hear from them. You don't need to hear any more from me other than the context. And I just want to give a plug. I'm always, again, on LinkedIn, listening to customer conversations, joining customer conversations. If there's anything that comes up, as we start to move into this next year that you feel is a core theme or ask around insights that you'd love us to bring to you on the LinkedIn side, since we're sitting on so much of that on the B2B insight side, I'm definitely here for that as well. So without further ado, I will pass it over to Craig.
Awesome. Thanks, Ruby. Hi, everyone, especially the person from Trinidad and Tobago. That is awesome. I have never had that before. So, Lucia, you win the prize. I'm not sure what the prize is, but you definitely won it. As I begin to talk about Founder Brand, I just want to say a couple of things. So Ruby did intro me, and so did Janice. So I appreciate you guys. I just want to make sure one thing's clear is that my life is about getting startups from, seed round A to the next level. And I have found that the stuff that we are about to talk to today across the board from all these people is one of the secret sauce, well, not so secret sauce after today, playbooks that companies should run. But here's the other thing I figured out is that everyone should run it. So we started to have, I have a guy right now who is going to every portfolio company that will allow him in the door to go work on their founder brand. And it's all sizes. It's my $400 million company to my 3. And so I'm really excited to talk to you about this today. I'm going to lead things off, and then you get to hear from the other experts who I love to listen to as well. And let me get you guys going, and hopefully I can get you excited, especially the Lucia from Trinidad and Tobago. I just love that. I can't stop. I mean, I got to get there. So there's some slides here that have a lot of text. I like them though, and I would like to keep them up and have you guys look at it. But what Ruby said is really important, which is it felt like it was good for a long time, and then last year LinkedIn figured out that it is good. They got the numbers, and that's what we put in the playbook. And so Gall here, who's talking about who's the sort of focus of this slide, and one of Alex, who's one of my heroes in LinkedIn and on this webinar as well, clients, right? This guy, he is just absolutely destroying it on LinkedIn. It is amazing. He does practically everything on LinkedIn. My guy that I was just talking about was just in Israel speaking, and he put up a Gall post. Everyone's like, "Oh my God!" Well, we already know. Like they knew everything because everyone's reads his stuff. And so a young company, it's not like it's a big company. And he's like, this is crazy, but 700,000 people read what I have to say. And 65% of their leads come from LinkedIn. And these are the kind of numbers that are changing the way we think about this stuff. This is not arts and crafts, right? This is real thing. So this is one of my favorite data points from the playbook as well. So founders, CEOs, you guys have thought leaders as well, depending on who you guys are on this call. But those that post at least 10 times per year on LinkedIn generate 33% more leads than founders that don't. I know this to be true because I just spent the last 3 minutes ranting about the stuff that I try to do for our founders. When they are on, the game changes. Now, how they're on, you're going to learn a lot about that today. But when they are on and they are delivering value, it is probably the best thing you can do. And one of the things the reasons why it works, especially for young companies, is because LinkedIn is a level playing ground for all of us. If you take a massive trade show, you go in there, you don't have the $1 million to go get that spot and the keynote speaking spot, right? But on LinkedIn, it is fair game. And that's Scott Albert, who we'll mention a lot, talks about this in terms of asymmetric marketing, right? This is where the folks like any of us can go and compete with people with bigger budgets, okay, with bigger brands and reputations. And the social platforms, especially LinkedIn, are the place for this, okay? And that's the thing is like, Scott is one of the best examples. Him and I built two companies together before he was building his next one. You know what he did? Yeah, they were working on product, but he's like, I'm going to spend the next year on LinkedIn and I'm going to build a following. That was his strategy. And by the way, all the VCs that want to throw money at him loved it. And he knew, because this is where you can punch above your weight. And that's what we're talking about here. Okay. So very exciting stuff. So I talked about, like, it's one thing to get on. It's another thing how you do it. Like I said, there's a ton of people on this webinar that are going to give you lots of really great advice. I'm just going to start with like a simple 2 or 3 things that I think are really important to get the conversation started. So one is, and this is what we do for our portfolio companies, is you do want to start with a storyline, your storyline. What is that? Because as you'll hear when the panelists start talking, you can't just throw up, things like, here's our new white paper, click here to get it, or just, AI generated nothing. You have to take a story and you have to run it across everything, but LinkedIn is the place to do it. I think there's 3 story types that you can think about and start with. And as I walk you through them, you'll see how much they cross over with each other. But one is like, do I understand the customer priority and pain? Okay. And can I talk about that? And can I talk about the solutions for that on LinkedIn and all the other social channels? Notice I did not say your product. I said the customer, your target market's priority of pain. And that is some of the best stuff I like on LinkedIn, which is like talking about the things that are and aren't working right now and what you should go do about it. The big one, I think, is a classic marketing play, but this to me is equally strong. I do feel like this is a big leap for a lot of people, but it's something you should be pushing for, which is, what's that transformational shift from old to new? Are you the visionary that could talk about what the future looks like and how to navigate it and who's going to win and who's going to lose? Okay. So that's number 2. And by the way, that is, if you took either of these 2 at the top, you should think about that just from a general marketing perspective and a sales perspective. And then the third one makes it really real, which is like your personal journey or story. Okay. So can we make it personal? Can this be about the things that you're experiencing today or before? And can you bring those things to life? And I'll give you some examples in some of the next slides that show someone walking through their personal journey. I know that the folks, I've heard them speak in the last 3 events across everyone, and the personal part of this is really important. It's clear. Okay, so we take our story, we start there, and then we let the market follow you as your story evolves. The story can evolve, okay? Because as you start to talk to the market, you're going to learn what they want to talk about and what they don't. But you got to start. You start somewhere and you continue to learn and you continue to evolve. So this is one of Alex's customers. He's literally got I'm not going to say a tiny startup, but a smaller startup. But everyone thinks he's got $1 billion startup because this dude has been on LinkedIn for 2.5 years, just doing his thing. And the way you want to think about his story, this is a story where he is sort of put himself out there as a founder's founder. He talks about how they're building a company and he's really open about it. And that allows him to be the guy who has a story that he's uniquely qualified to tell. He is going through the same things that the people he's trying to talk to go through. My favorite one was when he literally went on after they had, I don't know what you'd call it, but a year of layoffs and not so great results. And he went on and read the Glassdoor approval ratings. Literally, it was like when the people used to read the mean tweets. He just read his own. He didn't, he put that out there. The second thing you'll see from him all the time is he always talks about the things he learned and the mistakes that he made. Always. And he's so open about it that actually connects him to the audience in a way that nobody else can. But here's the thing we're talking about is the numbers work. This isn't like, it's so funny when someone tries to call social media busy work or a waste of time or like it takes too much time. It's like, well, what if it works? Well, for Adam, it worked. Okay, so this was an example from like a year ago. So I'd love to hear what he's got going now. You saw Gal, right? The numbers he's at, but like Adam's on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn drove 600 calls. Go ask your SDRs if they'd like someone to drive 600 calls. Okay. That's from LinkedIn. Okay. And he answers comments. He does these things. I mean, this is like real numbers. And if you look at the annual run rate that he presents there, that was all done on LinkedIn. They don't do any of the sort of traditional marketing stuff. They are literally driving this via LinkedIn. So I'm going to leave you with one thing, because I told you I got a team going out there and getting everyone on LinkedIn, and everyone's got an SDR outbound problem. That's like a real thing. So we're out there trying to solve the founder brand thing, but we're trying to let them know that actually turns into a solution for the outbound problem. So I look like a genius every time, because I'm like, oh, you guys are having trouble with outbound? Let me give you this. You get your founder on building respect on the platform, and then you have the founder DM other executives at your target accounts. You will get a higher conversion rate from that than anything else you will get. Imagine that. A 23-year-old kid sending a bunch of emails to prospects, or the founder who's writing about stuff that people care about, is leading the transformation and writes to this executive and just asks. I'll give you an example of how you do it. But basically what you want to do is you want to have your target list of ICP accounts, right? You want to prioritize against prospects that engaged with your profile or your content. So if they did, right, you have an in. That is your insight that lets you know that, well, you know what, they know a little bit about who I am. You want to view the profile, send a connection request, and then follow that with a message asking for a feedback session. So Scott, the guy I was talking about before, that's where they get all their leads. And I just said, hey, just send me a template of what you do. And basically, they have this template that's very simple that drives 6 to 8 meetings per week. All right. It's asking for feedback from them, 30 minutes, exec to exec, and they kill it on there. Now, I will say there's something very important, which is that founder has to be on LinkedIn, because that changes the equation. Imagine you get the DM and they go look at the profile and there's an amazing post on there. Those are the once you do that, this stuff works. Okay. So it's inbound and outbound. All right. So this is one of my favorite ones, but I got to walk you through it because it's really interesting. So Sendoso, Casey is on this. She led this effort. She's amazing, by the way. And we have a lot of data from them in the LinkedIn playbook. Okay. But this one I really thought was interesting. So this is about size of LinkedIn influence deals. Okay. So if the buyer did not engage with the company executive, that will just make as the baseline. Okay. If they commented, liked a company executive post, it's a 24% bigger deal size. If they followed a company executive post, it's 120%. Okay. More proof that this isn't arts and crafts. And it's not just leads, it's deal size. So the founder brand is driving bigger deals in their organization. I'll just leave you with this quote. Dave Gerhardt wrote like the book on founder brand. By the way, he tried to like tuck it away and move on, and now everyone's into it. So like the book's selling more and he's getting more requests. I talked to him the other day. He's like, dude, like I can't believe this. I mean, like I thought I was out of that space, but everyone's, because it's a great book and he's got a lot of really great tidbits. I thought this quote was really great. I just want to emphasize one thing. Today people want to buy from people. And LinkedIn becomes this incredible way to build your business. I told how I borrowed a lot from Scott Albro. I got to attribute him here. You can see him here. You go follow him. And a lot of the stuff I brought up, you'll see that I have stolen. So, and by the way, that's your goal when you're writing on LinkedIn is for people to steal from you too. So I am going to end this. I hope I've inspired everyone to start thinking about this. And now I'm going to hand off to start the Q&A. I just want to thank everyone for the heart emojis that went on while I was on there. It was very inspirational as I was going. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Craig. Okay. I have a confession to make. I don't do very much on LinkedIn, but after looking at your slides and I read the playbook and hearing from you, I think I might be converted. I don't know. I think I'm about to make my VP of marketing and sales very happy because I'm sold. And so I have questions. I have questions for y'all. Perna, I want to get started. Oh my God, where do I start? What's the first thing that you'd recommend for me to do? I'm going to do this Monday. I'll have time this week, but I'm going to do this Monday. How do I get started? What do I do?
Oh, well, I'm so excited that you are converted. Firstly, this was the whole goal. This was the whole exercise. We were all plotting this. I'm telling you, so I have shared with every exec founder, anyone I consult, that you can get started in as little as 5 minutes. And my system is this. I'm telling you, it's so simple. You have to, and we're going to use AI as a thinking partner here. But first, all the ideas, all the brain power, everything comes from you. What I always say is take 5 minutes away, get your phone, get a recording, whichever app you prefer, talk to text, and then just do stream of thought. Write down, just talk out answers to what are the most common questions that I'm getting from my customers? What is something that I've learned that I would love for more people to know about? Or any sort of burning question that you're like, I want people to know this. And then talk it out. Just stream of thought, 2 to 3 minutes. Don't limit yourself. Don't overthink it. Don't try to edit while you're talking. And then the secret is you take that transcript, upload it into your AI assistant of choice, give it info on your ideal customer profile, be like, I am really trying to reach startup founders who are series A and B and in the SaaS space, and this is the common pain points. Again, you want everything rooted in your customer. Read through my transcript and pull out what are 2 to 3 main points here, what would be the most compelling insight, what could be most relevant to my ICP. AI is going to shorten, it's going to pull out the gold nuggets from your stream of thought. And then you're going to be like, okay, well, these are sort of LinkedIn best practices. Give me some ideas. Like, how would I phrase this into a story? And then again, give me some bullet points that I can use to then craft my post. And then all you need to do is pick the format you're most comfortable with. As you can tell, I like to talk. I like to do a lot of video. It's easier. Some people are writers. Some people are visual. And then put it into the format that's easiest for you, and then just hit publish. A B+ post posted consistently is way better than the rare odd A+ post. So
or nothing. Oh my God, you make it sound like I can do that.
You can do it, and everyone has value to add. Like, no one else has your perspective, your lived experiences. And so if you can share that, it's awesome.
Okay. That is actually doable. I can totally imagine doing that. And it does sound like the least amount of brain damage.
Yes.
In terms of, because in other words, you're staring at a blank page going, what am I supposed to write?
I would argue that it actually makes you a better thinker and it improves your brain over time.
Yeah, tell me why.
I think the process of becoming more curious and aware of every conversation that you're participating in throughout the day, almost like a journalist, and thinking through what would be most useful or interesting to your buyer, paying attention deeply to your buyers and what they're commenting and what they're saying and the quiet truths that are coming out in their comments. It makes you think in a different way than if you're just going through life sort of like not paying attention in the present moment. And I've found that it makes me better at distilling the most important points or the most interesting insights out of everything that I'm doing throughout the day. I'm far more efficient, but I'm also, my writing is more impactful now. And I collect all day long. So I'm recording in granola. It's my favorite note taker because it doesn't have a bot that comes up and interrupts the conversation. But I feed everything across all of my meetings through granola. The transcripts go into AI, and AI helps me find patterns across all of my calls, and I can query the granola transcripts and find like important tidbits. So I think, becoming an active participant in your day and thinking about what could I collect that would be of value to the people that I am trying to reach, that is unique to my experience and my conversations, but also overlaps with their pains and challenges and the things they care about most, will make you a better marketer, better communicator, better leader, better seller, better thinker.
You're developing and sharpening a lens as you go through your day and you're talking to customers or you're working on docs, but also developing this sort of category of like, this might be good for something that would be useful for me to share.
Yeah, and I think Alec would be great to speak to the hook element of that, because you can have a really great insight or idea and present it in such a way that everyone will scroll right past it. Alec's the master of hooks. Maybe he could help us with some basics for how to get attention.
I want to know about hooks. Please tell me more.
Yeah, I mean, on LinkedIn, you've, I don't remember the exact stats, but you're going to scroll through, Craig may have covered it one time, or maybe
300 feet of content every single day.
300 feet of content every day. I mean, you really...
Which is as tall as the Statue of Liberty or the Big Ben in London.
Crazy.
That's crazy.
And so the hook is the element in those first 3 or 2 lines, or if you do a video, there's a video-based hook, but the element that gets people to stop and to actually read and click see more. And, if you're just starting out, I think it is most important, as we were talking about earlier, to just kind of build the muscle to start posting and not overthink it too much. So I don't want you to get bogged down by trying to have the perfect hook. But over time, as you develop and you increase your skills, one of the areas that you'll focus on the most is the hook. Is like, what are the words, emotions, stories, the media elements that I can inject into this post that will get people to stop and give me the time of day, right? That's where a lot of your focus is going to be put. And I think one of the best ways to do that if you're early is just to make sure that you call out your ICP, who you're trying to talk to, right? I think if I was just to give one piece of advice, it would be that, there's 300 feet of content, as Perna was saying, is, if you're writing to sales leaders, in your hook, maybe you address sales directors or marketing managers, sales managers, make them know that post is for them, right? So that'd be my easiest little quick tip for you when you're starting out. Really just call out that audience directly so they can opt into that content and realize, hey, this may be interesting to me.
I'm going to jump in with a really cool story, because this is from someone that Alec, you advise, which is Gal Aga, who we've talked about a dozen times already. But he says he does something really cool where, given the size of his audience, what he does is he'll pay attention to the first 15 to 30 minutes after he posts. And if he doesn't see 1 or 2 likes a minute in that time, again, based on his audience size, he deletes the post, rewrites the hook, and then reposts it, because it makes all of the difference. So again, just to reiterate what Alec already advises on the hook being so important.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to ask about next. I'm a metrics girl. Show me the data. How do I know this is working?
I mean, I would be a little careful. When you're at Gal's level, it's a little different. You have multiple years of audience data and like a feel for the audience to know if something is working or not working. So that strategy that Perna was talking about is kind of like A/B testing, right? You can delete it and then redo it and try it again. And I think that works as you get to the more advanced stage. Earlier on, I'd be a little careful because sometimes you just don't know it. With the way LinkedIn has changed and is moving, there's this longer tail on it. They're going more towards this evergreen model where content will get more distribution over a period of weeks, just days, so it doesn't live and die as quickly based on like that initial 60 minutes. So I would, start being mindful to kind of track the patterns of like, okay, it's not going very well or it's not going very fast. And then you can try and delete it again. But I wouldn't just because you don't have 50 likes in the first 10 minutes, just delete it, especially when you're getting started.
Here is what I will say I'm going to call myself still a novice. I think I've gone from like 10 to 12,000 followers in the last year. And,
Nice.
And a lot of that was experimentation, but my end goal was to drive pipeline and to create relationships with my target accounts. And that was the reason I was there, but it was also to build community and a personal brand for myself as a side mission. A lot of what I post is completely unrelated to my job, my product. It's not pitchy, it's not corporate, it's very personal, and it's drawn from the comments in my past posts. And I will leave a post up. Like quite often, I'll post something, think it's dead, think that I should delete it, and it will get 300 interactions over the next 24 hours, and my mind will be blown. Sometimes the opposite happens. It looks dead, and then someone will come in and there'll be a $200,000 deal that comes in from someone who was just lurking and interacted not at all with the post, and you had no idea that they saw it. So there is value to you continuing to put content out thoughtfully that will resonate with your target buyer and your target accounts, and to connect with those people and to interact with them in the comments, and to leave that up even if you're not seeing interaction, because it's not necessarily about gaming the impressions. It's about the resonance. Are they sharing it? Did they behind the scenes send that to their team? Did they screenshot it? A lot of my best deals came from complete lurkers, did not know that they were following me at all. And so like, don't be so quick to judge, because I think the real ROI is, are you resonating with the audience you're trying to sell to? And are like, a lot of it is a testing ground. So you can like post one post, look at the comments, answer some comments, pull your comments out into a next post that does better because you understand what mattered better the next time. It's all learning.
Yeah, by the way, Perna and Casey, one thing from the last time when we were presenting, in terms of getting people started, as we've been working with startups, I've been telling them, you still want to figure out your story, but like you could start with comments. And like, because, Perna, you were saying you could start in 5 minutes. I'm like, you can't still with that too. Because Casey was like, I tell them the story. She said some of her most like chunks of followers came from really thoughtful comments that they wrote. I just wanted to let you guys know, but I think it's relevant to the audience. Like, that was a game changer for me to get people started and to get people, same thing, testing how their story resonates in the way that they're talking to the market, just in the comment string before you even, you should post, but you know what I mean? Like, even if you don't, like that is a great place to start. I learned that from you guys. So.
Yeah, I think
it is. Oh, go ahead, Alec.
I
didn't mean to leave you out, Alec. I also learned from you as well. Yeah,
I'm not offended. I think that's a good point to make. I've had a number of people, if you're shy to post or you want to kind of just build up that muscle, it's a lot easier to respond to something than to create something from scratch, right? So you can still think of your comments as mini little posts that will get distribution for your thoughts and thinking and ideas, and that will draw followers back to you in a very similar way to the post. Yes, over time, if you want a full content LinkedIn strategy, you're going to need to start posting. Yeah. But there are many people that have grown, pretty fantastic audiences that do more commenting than posting, honestly. So I think, it is the easiest way to get started. And if you're a little post shy or you're not sure where to start, I would definitely start there with like 15 minutes a day, even as simple as that, to start identifying some influential people in your space who already have big audiences and have interesting ideas.
That's a good point.
Start mixing it up in the comments, because there's already a threshold of eyeballs already kind of lurking around those comments sections, right? You don't need a big follower count to get some impressions there. So I think it's a great way to start.
I love your quote, Alec. I'm gonna quote you from our version of this live. Alec says every comment is an ad. It's a free ad. The only cost is your time. And the way I think about social selling and founder-led flywheels is you're building an organic foundation that you can stack paid on top of. If you do it upside down, the paid is less effective and it costs more. Ads with humans do better. So if it's organic and it looks like it's coming from a real person, it's going to perform better across any platform. But you are you're doing yourself a disservice if you're not thinking about how you can draw people to you by commenting across and then engaging with the people that you're trying to sell to. Social selling is all about identifying, like, I want to sell into Alec Paul and his business. Or I want to partner with Scale Ventures. So I'm going to go study Craig and Alec. I'm going to interact with their posts. I'm going to invite them on my podcast. I'm going to then start, engaging with them and try and get them in person at a dinner. There's like stacking that happens, but it all starts with organic effort where you're building trust and credibility and people are starting to see and become familiar with your face.
This is actually such a similar pattern with what we saw with the search marketing industry. So for search engine journalists, especially if we remember even like 10 years ago, like Twitter was the main place that we would go and we had PPC chat, we had the SEO chat. This is how people got to know each other. And so it's the same, things don't change. Everything's a remix, right? It's just a new format. And we're seeing this on LinkedIn where you want to put the social in social media. Like the LinkedIn algo is going to think of it like a party host. It's going to reward dialogue, not just monologues. If you just come in, post, and disappear, you won't see as much traction as if you are commenting. And I want to add something on the comments. Like if you write a really good comment, it can spark an idea for a post of your own. I'll give you an example. The CMO of Twilio posted this really awesome post about how B2B marketing doesn't have to be that boring. And then, I wrote, I'm like, look, here's why I think it is the case, and here's what I would do. And then I was like, oh, actually, that was such a good comment, even if I say so myself. And I'm like, I'm going to go and turn it into my own post. And then I did my own post. And of course, I tagged the Chris, the CMO of Twilio, of course, to give credit. But again, it's just cyclical. You can reuse content and repurpose it. So
I love it.
Yeah.
There's a question from an audience member, Oliver Swords. How do you address negative comments?
Alec, I'm going to throw it to you because you've got some good quotes there.
I think negative comments are just part of the, it's the internet, it's social media. Someone is going to interpret you in bad faith because maybe they're having a bad day or whatever. Like, unless you're saying something explicitly racist, sexist, or something along those lines, you're pretty safe from any major ramifications. You'll find the occasional troll. That's just the nature of the beast. In fact, I would say, so I think that's one element of it. It's just like, you can delete, you can ignore. Remember, it's your space. You don't have to let them into it. You know what I mean? Like, it's your real estate. It's your home. You can delete them. You can block them. That's all up to personal preference. To expand on that, I would say, I wouldn't bucket it as negative, but it's okay if 10% of people just don't agree with you, right? In fact, I think we use that as a barometer to some extent of if everyone's just rah-rahing, this is so great, your opinion or your take or your content is probably not strong enough. If you have a strong enough, position, you're going to get 10% of people that are disagreeing with you anyway. And that's good. That's good for engagement. It's good for the algorithm. It's good for the ecosystem. So I wouldn't be overly worried about, negative comments. I think it's totally appropriate to block, delete, and move on with your life. You don't owe them anything.
You will get people who are just doing that for attention, and it's not good to feed them.
Yep.
My favorite response, if it's just someone who is being rude, is "What an odd thing to say." Mm-hmm. That usually just kills it.
Really, I need to try that because there's this guy I can't stop thinking about his terrible comment he left last week, and I have to get over it according to Alec, but I haven't yet. So I'm just going to go back and say what an odd thing to say, and hopefully I'll feel better.
I love it.
Well, Gal and Scott both say that they respond to every troll comment because it just feeds the algo. Like
there's people that do that too. It's really just your mental health, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I don't want to mess with them. I'm going to start using Casey's line on like what an odd thing to say. That is genius.
Oh, Alvaro, yeah, he wants them to keep coming back at it. He's like a old 80s talk show radio host. He wants the negative, and then he goes like 5 back and forth with the person.
There are algorithmic benefits to that because it looks like a conversation chain. It looks like your post set off a conversation, right? So it goes back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And LinkedIn's like, wow, this post is setting off a conversation, which is the type of content they like. So again, it all comes down to a personal preference.
Controversy can work for you. Okay, Casey, I have a question for you. This all sounds great. I imagine one of the roadblocks to making this a reality is executive buy-in. How do you convince a very, very busy founder, a very, very busy leader that this is something that they should be doing?
I think if you ask Alec this question, he will say there are certain people that can't and should not be doing this. If you really, really don't want to do it and they don't feel like it's important and it's like painful for them, sometimes it's better to select a different executive and start with someone who is better suited. That said, as a CMO, like one of my criteria when I'm joining a company to go in-house as a leader is I'm looking for a strong founder with a strong point of view, high conviction, who believes in this. And they may not understand exactly how to do it, but I need the conviction behind it. I think if you have someone who is unsure, or quite often I come across founders who feel some sort of odd guilt around this, like it's like playtime or it's superfluous. Good to start with showing where your audience lives. So show them that your audience is actually engaging and seeking out information on LinkedIn, which I would say the vast majority of companies have a strong audience on LinkedIn. Show them peers. Even better if you can connect them with a peer that they know or respect, who's doing this well, so they get FOMO. Gamifying this is kind of the key. It's like look at what you're missing out on and what everyone else is doing better than you, because most founders are highly competitive. And then I like to set, it's just like any experiment, time box it, give yourself a quarter, because this is not going to happen immediately, and start tracking not just the founder, but like spin up a few other folks who you think are naturally going to be good at this and have raised their hand, and start making it competitive, and track, like how many connections and target accounts are we collecting? What sort of deal progression impact are we seeing? How many DMs within target accounts? How many meetings booked? Because eventually we'll start booking meetings through your team's DMs. Are we seeing? That needs to be connected to the CRM, so it's tied to your account data, because this is just part of pipeline production and demand creation and account acceleration. And so, I think people start to hit walls when they talk about this, like just brand or awareness. I think the language is like, you are going to become a founder pipeline machine. Your brand is going to be a pipeline generation engine for our business. And here's how we're going to track it over the next 3 months. And you want them to get addicted to it. So there's a dopamine hit of like, and I'm not above seeding that in the beginning and have people comment and make sure that you have people kind of set up to praise and engage so that they get a little bit of that dopamine up front. But I think, what you want to do is celebrate really openly and transparently internally when you have wins, and you'll start pretty quickly to see that sales is getting their deals streamlined, that, the founder and executive team are starting to unblock deals that get stuck, are able to make intros through their connections, as you're collecting self-reported attribution, or if you have hopefully a more advanced attribution tool, which I recommend, you'll be able to start connecting back LinkedIn, even the lurkers, to your deal progression and your pipeline and your revenue. So I think, if you hit a wall and they're really not willing to do it, maybe start with a different subject matter expert internally. But most founders, I think, can be lovingly tricked or gamed into becoming very competitive about this.
Thank you for that. And I have a related question from the audience from Jenny Woods. If a founder doesn't want to do it, should someone else write it for them and have them post? How much of this should be authentic and how much should be the marketing team? And in parentheses, she says, I think I know the answer, but I want to ask.
Throwing that to Alec, because I know
Alec,
he has strong opinions.
Alec, come on. This is Alec. You just cued this thing. It was like softball pitch to Alec here.
I think they should do it. I think they should do it themselves. I've always thought the writing is the thinking. It's like if you want to build an elite level audience that's going to be like a massive piece of leverage for your business, they're going to have to invest time in it. I think there's like a different scale, like it's a spectrum. I have seen people, this may be surprising, have success with ghostwriters. There are definitely an endless amount of agencies out there, and that's better than nothing. For sure. I think you'll always lose something when it's not them. But is that better than nothing? Probably would be my guess. But I think if you want to be the best at it and you want to get their competitive spirit really revved up, they need to take some level of ownership over it. Absolutely.
The other thing I'll add is this is not just a posting game. I know we've all said that a whole bunch of times, but this is a process where they actually need to be plugged in and building relationships. So if you have someone ghostwriting and posting for them, they're going to check out and they're not going to be engaged. And that's going to be far less successful than if you have them plugged in, looking at their comments. You're tracking the connections that they're building inside your target accounts, and they're actually, personally building relationships that can be leveraged later on. I'm not a fan of the ghostwriter, ghost poster for that reason. I think it kind of cuts the legs off of the strategy.
Yeah, they don't feel the same. We talked about it before, but it's like they know, the executive, they don't get the same dopamine rush. You know what I mean? Like you're trying to get them kind of addicted to it. So when the comments that are about how smart you are and how great of a take and how this helped my business come in, but you didn't actually have any hand in writing any of that content, like it does not create that flywheel for them to keep going. And it'll eventually be something they lose focus on and they deprioritize. And like, unless you're in it and you have your hands on it, it's, as Casey said, it's going to be hard to get the full power of it.
A lot of what Alec does and what my team and I and marketing teams try to supplement internally is helping to craft a process that's going to work for them long term and helping them sort through and formulate ideas and to get better at it over time. So figuring out like what organically works for them. Is it dictating into a phone? Is it writing it on a napkin? I don't really care. Like ideally you would use some sort of AI process that streamlines it a bit so it's not painful and you don't have to convert things from written to digital, but whatever works for them is going to be the best way to get them to keep doing it. And same applies for all of us. And I think there's often a sort of strategic element involved of like kind of connecting the dots between these are the things that you're thinking about, that you care about, that you find interesting, and mapping that to your audience and what they care about and find interesting, and also the sort of like inflection points that are going to actually trigger emotion or be slightly controversial. So I like to start, if I'm starting with a new founder, with sort of like documenting a manifesto of like, who are you? What do you care about? Why are you here? Why are you building this? What are your strong opinions? And helping map that to like the larger market and the things that the buyer cares about. Because oftentimes, founders will default to like too corporate or what's easiest. And and it's just not as meaningful.
I would add one more point to all the excellent points that we've shared, which is to respect your audience. At the end of the day, you're not posting for the sake of posting, like we've said. But if we think about AI, like the floor has been lowered. There's 100 times more content right now. And that means your content needs to be 100x better. And there's a premium on authenticity, which is sharing you and your voice. It does not have to be super polished and perfect, but it has to be you. It has to show your perspectives. It has to show how you think. And I don't think you can do that effectively. Like if you think about all of the thought leaders and the founders that you follow as an audience, like who do you respect? Chances are you connect with them on some kind of emotionally resonant level. And a ghostwriter or fully AI written post, while it's the easy solution, it's not. I mean, I always say that if I could have an AI agent go to the dentist for me or go to the gym for me, heck yeah, I would do it. But sadly, I won't get the results if I did that, right? But yes, it's a little bit of pain, but like you mentioned such an interesting point that it's from going from the couch to 5K, right? In the beginning, it's really hard to get started writing and building a habit, but it takes 3 weeks to build a habit. The more you write, the easier it gets. Like when I was writing my book, for example, like now I miss it. I started writing regularly on LinkedIn to promote my book when it first came out a few years ago. And it was hard in the beginning, but then it's just easier and easier. Now I actually look forward to it. So again, you respect your audience and build that trust, because it's always going to come out, right? One day if they get to know you, and the ghostwriters, they don't capture your essence. People can tell. We're much more sensitive now.
I don't know if I answered this. How do you work with a founder who's overly tactical and not brand focused? But Alec, I'm sure you have thoughts on this. One of my tricks there is just talking to them regularly in a meeting until you can figure out what they're actually passionate about, that you can pull out of them and get them out of the tactical, like overly controlled mode, and figure out where you can pull some vulnerability because there's passion and there's fire. The other trick I have is data collection. So like support them into a more vulnerable place by starting with like surveying and polling and using your proprietary data to give them a platform to tell a story, because that will be an easier stair step than asking them to be personally vulnerable first. What do you think, Alec?
Yeah, I think that's correct. I think whatever process you think is going to work, it's going to change, right? Like it needs to be pretty bespoke. Like you may know your founder, but we found a lot of success setting up little writers' rooms, kind of. It's like you have to give them the free space to think and talk, and you have to prompt them and get responses and answers and help drive the conversation and kind of ride the wave of what they're interested in. You know, it's complex to keep them focused, right? Like you have to figure out what the audience wants versus what they're interested in and try to match it all up in a way that works. But I think they have to be given like a thought partner to help. Some will naturally just do it, right? They'll write something and give it to you and you can help edit it and whatever. But a lot of them are just going to need a thought partner because they're going to need an hour on the calendar. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't move. And you get there and you talk and you pull things out of them and you have a conversation, and it feels much more like a discovery call than anything else, right? I think that's the best way to do it. As Casey alluded to, like maybe some of them are going to have impromptu thoughts and they don't need that session, and they're going to send you voice notes throughout the week. You know, it really depends on your founder. Some of them may be really good on video, and like they're so much better at video and communicating that way that like, let's, screw writing. Let's get them on video and then we can write these posts. But it's still the same thing because it's their authentic voice that's coming through on video. So I think you have to kind of match it up with their strengths and who they are, and you'll figure out that process. It's not going to, if I told you have to do it this way, I would be wrong, right? So I think it's a little trial and error.
Craig, what do you see? Because you work across as well so many and you advise them on this.
Well, I as you guys were talking, we're sort of talking about it in like how we convince a founder or push but like I have that, but also I work directly with the founders. And to me, if I put aside all of the things that we just talked about and just said to a founder, which I've been talking to them about, like this act of understanding what your story is and then writing about it or talking about it every week is actually core to you being able to lead this company. It's a little different, right? It's hard for a director of marketing to go tell the founder CEO that, but like, and we've seen it where the best CEOs, I'm in tech, right? These are folks that talk about the market and their buyer in the right way, and that comes with practice. And so, I have a two-pronged attack. One is to just talk to the founder about what this means for the company. It means a lot. You could tell. This is how they talk about it. So, that I think that's the one, Perna, that's the next one we have to write is like, it's like a founder to founder, or like we can, which is, the things that nobody talks about that help you be a better leader. This is one of them. Whether it goes on LinkedIn or not, it should. But my point is like all the things Casey and Alec were just talking about, these things help you lead the company and talk to customers in the right way and talk to your employees in the right way. So it's that, that it's a little bit of a different tact, but it's the same thing, right? This is bigger. I
agree. I like to ask too, when there's a hesitation, like, would you hesitate to do a, 50 customer virtual tour where you talk to 50 customers? Does that sound important for you to understand and hear from our top customers? Yes. Typically they'll be like, duh, yeah. Okay. Do you think there's anything more important than you actually spending time in your day understanding how our customers and buyers think, what their personal challenges are, and how we can serve that better? No. Okay, well, all of our competitors can and are doing this on LinkedIn where our customers actually live. And because you're not doing this, we're falling behind. There's no higher priority for a CEO or founder, in my opinion.
Oh, I love that. That's such a good quote.
Yeah, that's a good soundbite right there.
Yeah.
Okay, we have just a few minutes left, and I want to get to the question that's had the most votes here from the audience, which is, and switching gears a bit, I'm seeing a lot of long form content posts. Is that the norm now on LinkedIn?
I can jump in and share a little bit about LinkedIn research, but then I'd love to toss it to like Craig and Alec and Casey to see what they say. But so our insights team at LinkedIn specifically looked at founders, at director plus execs at startups. And what we found was that these posts from this audience that are between 400 to 800 words generate nearly 3 times more engagement than those under 50 words. So now that doesn't just mean you go in and keyword stuff, because I'm talking to like search marketers here. So, we don't just gamify the system. Like the whole question that you should ask yourself is, would this help someone outside my company solve a real problem? And if that is yes, then don't be afraid to go deep. And it's great, but if it needs to be said in 2 lines, that's also fine. But Craig, you see trends across your founders. Alec, Casey, what do you all recommend?
Alec, Casey, you guys want to go first, or?
Yeah, I think short and long. I think a lot of the trend goes that way. I think was originally like an algorithmic hack. You can keep them on the page longer. It tends to do better, right? Versus them quickly scrolling by it, and you give them more substance. There's a lot of talk a while ago about this thing called dwell time, which is like how much time people spend on an individual post. Whether that's 100% true, it remains to be seen, but it does seem to be how the platform is going. So I've seen that, when some of our founders use every character available to them, it does seem to do pretty well. But it has to be edited to within an inch of its life. If you're going to fill up that full text box, you should probably write twice as much and only cut it down to what actually fits. Like it's a struggle sometimes to get it to fit. That had been the way a lot of people have been doing it. I still see that a lot, but I don't want to give any hard and fast rules. LinkedIn changes frequently and everything just matched up with the way you do it. I have not seen a lot of luck with like tweet style posting where you're posting 15 little short things in a row, like in a day. that doesn't seem to work, like Twitter or X. But I think the lens that you should look through it is like everyone is there to get better at their job. So sometimes that takes some extra words to kind of give them that perspective or tactic or strategy or whatever to get them there. So I think that's a lot of what you're seeing.
I very frequently max out. I tend to write more long form. That's comfortable for me, but also I find that it's the best way to add deeper tactical value that people can take steps and tactics away from the post. I think you have to think about it as a balance too, though. Like it is a community, as Perna said. So I think there's an element of, and Alec is like really good at this with his founders, building your own credibility and your own persona so people understand why they should listen to you, what your experience is, where you're coming from, why you're impressive enough basically to be listened to. And then actually giving some elements of your own, some vulnerable elements of who you are as a person so people feel like they know you and they get that sort of connection to you beyond the writing and the tactics, and then mixing that together. So like I find that the folks who are just posting for sort of like attention grabbing or humor, I start to ignore them because I'm not actually getting value consistently. If that's woven together, so like on the weekend, you might have a post that's more personal and people feel like they can connect with you. And then during the week, you're posting maybe longer form or more tactical, more, value add type posts. I think people trust you more over time, but that's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, that's why I was asking you guys, because I don't know, right, the data around this. I can tell you that I've found over the years that everyone says they want shorter and complain about shorter, but they equate value with longer.
That's true. Yeah.
Back at Topo, people would be like, well, could you do like a shorter cheat sheet? So we did a short cheat sheet and nobody would use it. Then we're like, well, here's a 150-page document. They're like, oh my God, this thing's amazing. And I'm like, there's no way they read it. But I know that they looked at it and said that. But yeah, on the other hand, that's been the truth for me. The issue why I try to punt it is I don't follow my own rules. I tell everyone go long form, then I write these really short posts because I'm like crazy,
You do what works. We are a little over time, and I want to really thank can everybody hit the emojis as a show of appreciation since they can't see y'all clapping. Thank you so much to our presenters. I learned so much today, and there's stuff that I want to rewind and revisit, and you will be able to do that when you receive today's recording and the slides later today in your inbox. So watch for that. Thanks everybody for your time. Thank you presenters for your treasure trove and all the knowledge that you were dropping on our audience. I appreciate it. And Search Engine Journal is much better for it. And watch this space. I might be, and Bernard might be hitting you up because I think I'm going to be taking your advice. So thank you for schooling me.
Awesome. Oh, thank you all so much. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.